we're here with Bernard Tobin, our Ontario correspondent, and this will be the third time we've been talking about the Ontario racehorse industry and the elimination of the slots at racetrack program. Well, I guess it was last week. Press release went out that there is in fact an agreement in place, a 2-year agreement for Mohawk and Woodbine racetracks. What can you tell us about that?
Well, Lyndsey, what they have here is, as you said, it's a 2-year agreement. Woodbine and Mohawk are going to race, and that's the A, that's the major leagues down here. They're going to race. They're going to have reduced dates, and basically what the government decided was they really didn't have anywhere to go with their slot machines. They're still stuck in with a lot of challenges to get casinos going, so they have nowhere to go. So they have to stay at the racetracks. So they've cut a deal with Mohawk and Woodbine. They will keep those slots at the racetracks for 2 years. The challenge is, well, they've turned basically the racetracks into landlords. They're going to pay them some money to rent their space. Right. And that's going to be hopefully be enough to keep the racetracks going. But the horsemen or the purses have been cut out of it. They're not going to get anything. Right. So the racetracks will continue to run at least at that level, Woodbine and Mohawk, and at least for 2 years.
Right. Now, so there's a few things though here is that the purse money then now has to come from the betting, which certainly at the bigger tracks, maybe not such an issue, but at the B level, the C level tracks that don't necessarily have the crowds or the syndication of these things, where does that leave the purses? I mean, is that just going to eliminate the C level tracks at some point? What does this agreement, or this, if other tracks make this kind of agreement, where does it leave them?
Well, how it works is, the whole idea is to take the pari-mutuel betting and the percentage of that and put it into the purses for the horsemen to race for. So that's okay at Woodbine and Mohawk, where they bet $1 million or plus $1 million on every race card. But you go to some of the B and C tracks, the smaller racetracks, they bet a fraction of that. And you cannot get, no way, however you do the math, get enough to sustain a racehorse or racing industry. So that's the big challenge. The government, I think, is aware of that. They have said that they were going to come up with some money to support the industry, but they're keeping their cards close to their vest, and they won't tell us that until maybe a few weeks down the road. Right now, Woodbine and Mohawk have an agreement. A couple of the other small tracks have an agreement, but there's a lot of the smaller tracks that have to figure out what to do. One, will they have slots and get some money, and will they have enough money to race?
Yeah.
Big question.
Big question. And of course, now some of the discussion going on, this is a 2-year deal, but anyone familiar with the horse racing industry knows that as a breeder, you work on probably a 3-year cycle if you're selling yearlings. As a trainer or owner, realistically, if we could walk people through, you breed your mare. It's an 11-month gestation, so she gives birth the 2nd year. You may sell a yearling, or they don't race till they're 2. So we're talking a 4-year cycle. So for horsemen, for breeders, for owners, for trainers, to make decisions about this industry, a 2-year contract doesn't necessarily, or 2-year agreement doesn't necessarily serve them all that well.
Well, that's the challenge. I mean, if you're going to breed horses, I mean, so much of this industry, it's very labor intensive, and it starts on the farm with the breeding farms, raising horses, breeding horses, stallions. It's an integrated industry. And again, we have 2 years of sustainability, shall we say, at one level, at the top level.
At the top level.
Hardly enough confidence for the industry and breeders to make that big leap. That is, that commitment that you said can be to 3 to 4 years. So there's a lot of talk about, sustainable future for this industry. This is but, I guess, the first, part of it. A lot more has to be done, and the industry is sitting back and saying, okay, that's nice, but we need a lot more to be able to have some confidence for this industry to survive.
Now, 2 points. Congratulations. You have a new premier, or premier-elect, I guess, Ms. Wynne. Now, she has done something, or is saying that she's going to do something quite unprecedented. She's going to take on the agriculture portfolio as well as being the premier. Do you see that as positive in this light, certainly for the racehorse industry?
Well, she's made some comments prior to the convention this weekend, and at the end of the convention, where she said we have to fix horse racing. So, you know, hear that from the premier when Mr. McGuinty and Mr. Duncan always basically say it's a subsidy and we can no longer do it, and threw it in the gutter. And the $20,000 to $30,000, 20 to 30,000 jobs and the $2 billion of economic activity, just dismissed it. I think the industry is that's a refreshing change, and everybody's hopeful.
Now, the McGuinty government called it a subsidy, used that as sort of its drum with its rally cry. You know, turning the tracks into landlords and then coming up with money for purses sounds more like a subsidy than the Slots at Racetrack program. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, the Slots at Racetrack programs was really a partnership. The government put the slots at the racetracks because they had nowhere to put them. No one wanted them. Yeah. They used the infrastructure of the racetracks, the parking lots, the buildings, and all those type of things. Brought the competition into the racetrack. And in return for that, the racetracks and the horsemen got 20% of the proceeds. The province got $1 billion a year. And then Mr. McGuinty and Mr. Duncan said, well, you know, we can't do that no longer. We've been subsidizing you people too long. We can't do that. That was great. Then they finally realized that, you know, again, $20,000 to $30,000, 20 to 30,000 jobs, $2 billion economic impact. Rural Ontario, tremendous impacts on there. They no longer can throw this industry in the gutter. And ironically, they have now agreed to subsidize it.
So,
at some level.
Yeah.
How long and how much?
Yeah.
But there you go, a liberal economic theory.
Yeah. Something like it. So it is interesting though. With the new premier taking on the egg file, this could be very interesting. Certainly, getting agreements in place is a good thing. Is 2 years enough? I guess we'll see. And the new structure of essentially renting the space with a casino 2, 4, 6 years never away. These are all things that we'll just have to watch, and hopefully the horsemen and all of the supporting industries can hopefully have their voices heard. And I hope that your premier can certainly work with the industry to add some stability. Certainly.
Well, stay tuned.
Yeah.
We will talk again because this process is going to go on, and it will to and fro, and we'll see where it ends up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Bernard.
You're welcome.